Good afternoon, Chris. Got a bit
Good
of your
afternoon,
intro in
gents.
there for the show.
Very good.
This is Jamie Brewster's Musical Heroes with my guest for today, Chris Evans, who's
Chris
been
Evans.
involved in musical things for quite a long time, I think.
It frightens me to death when I think how long actually. I mean, I was buying records when I was 8. Um, I wasn't doing it professionally, at least. Well, I've never done it professionally, to be honest. But I wasn't doing it publicly, shall we say?
Okay. Okay. And you're a West Midlander,
Yes,
born and
uh,
bred and educated and
that's
everything.
right. I was born in Walsall and moved to Wolverhampton. Joined the Wolverhampton Express and Star as a journalist there until 2005.
Right.
And in fact, it was the Express and Star who kind of got me into radio in a way because I used to work on the features department.
Okay.
And one day the features editor came along and said, "We've got this story you might be interested in. There's a radio station launched in Wolverhampton, community radio station called WCR, and they're looking for presenters." And just volunteers basically of any kind. And
Okay.
I went along to do an article on them, and I came away thinking, hang on a minute, I could do something like that. I've got a kind of unusual take on music, and I'm, it's no less commonplace than it was 20 years ago, or
Brilliant.
how long it is now. It's 25 years ago
Is
now.
it? Okay.
Um, so I thought, yeah, let's take it to them and see what they think.
Hmm.
And they thought, let's try it. I think they were just desperate at the time, so they would have taken anyone. It was a giant cat
Sorry
in
about
our
that.
field
Just
of
got a
vision there.
cat. Just got a slight cat in. Sorry about that, Chris. Carry on, please.
Yes, so
Okay.
I can say they asked me to come along and try for it, and without much ado, they said come along and do it. I mean, there's no money involved; it's all voluntary.
Okay.
But I thought, well, that sounds like fun. But of course, at the time, I was still working as a journalist,
Okay.
and it was hard to fit the two in.
Hmm.
And also, of course, I wasn't quite as fluent on the internet as I am now. And
Right.
so, I was just buying a few records every week, as many as I could afford. And it wasn't really enough to sustain a radio program. And it was a
Okay.
2-hour radio program in those days as well.
Sure.
So I was just using what I got in my collection, which very quickly got a bit tedious. So I packed it in.
Okay.
And then in the intervening period, I left the Express and Star. And then I started to think after about a year, I thought, well, I've got more spare time now. Maybe I should try again. And also, I was starting to understand how the internet worked and how the music industry worked as well, and how they might start supporting a radio show.
Okay.
And so I went back again and started the whole thing all over again a year later. That was 2005.
Wow. And
The
uh,
rest is history.
from 2005 to this day. So have you've done other things though in between, I guess, haven't you?
Um, Not on the radio, I haven't. You know, let's face it, as I say, what I'm doing is not commonplace.
No,
So
definitely
the,
not.
there's not exactly even if I was the slickest presenter in the world, which I probably am not, but even so, that the number of people beating a path to my door would probably be still quite small.
Okay.
It's I'm kind of swimming in the opposite direction to the rest of the music business in a way.
Well, that's that's refreshingly good, to be honest, isn't it? And
I like to think so.
yeah, I mean, your show is really, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about the show as we go along, but
Mhm.
I'd like to talk to you a bit about the other things you've been doing because you're obviously you were a freelance writer, journalist.
Yeah, for a time I was actually. I used to write. I think the first thing I did as a kind of a freelance was working for. Do you know Mike Allway? Mike Allway's L Records. He
Yeah,
produced.
vaguely, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Louis Philippe was one of his artists, in fact.
indeed,
Uh,
yeah,
And I was writing press releases for the albums he was releasing after the demise of the proper label, when he was releasing obscure things from the distant past, for the most part.
yeah,
Um, Probably the 70s was the earliest he went back when he was releasing classical music, jazz, all
yeah,
kinds of things. Uh,
remarkable.
and it was all very, very obscure. It was electronic music, and we
Yeah.
put out some. I mean, the combination of stuff we put out was just breathtaking.
Yeah.
One week it was Jim Dale, the comedian Jim
Yeah.
Dale,
Yeah. For
who
sure. Yeah.
made records. The
Yes.
next week it was Karl-Heinz Stockhausen,
Whoa.
electronic music. That was the way Mike's mind functioned in those days. And I was kind of having to try and keep up with it.
So Cherry Red, are they Cherry Red?
Yes, actually, L were part of Cherry Red.
Right.
Right, yeah.
And
And they're still going. L is still going.
okay.
Mike disappeared mysteriously, but
All right.
we never knew what. But I think he turned up he surfaced in Sweden. I think his
Okay.
girlfriend was Swedish, but anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, the label, from what I can gather, seems to be flourishing, doing the same kind of thing it was doing what time ago.
Okay. Okay. And there's some quite nice little interviews on YouTube from Cherry Red as well, and quite enjoyed looking at some of those. And Louis Philippe, as you say, I mean, what an artist! And his last album, I think, with the Night Train. I mean, I love that.
Yes.
What a great bit of quality music.
Well, yes. I mean, he made records from, I think it was the first one about 1986.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a hell of a lot. And so I think and then he stopped around 2007. He made another one collaborating with Test Built.
That's right.
Called The Ocean Tango.
Oh, it's a great record.
A great record. In which case you may know one of my tunes. In fact, the only one that's been recorded.
All right.
There's a song on it called In Flight.
Oh, yes,
and,
I know.
Somehow Louis got to hear the original version, which was instrumental.
Okay.
That's all I can do with, and that not very well.
Very nice.
But this one was, it took his fancy, and he went away with the members of Test Built and the Ocean Tango and made a version of it. He turned it up on the Ocean Tango album.
It's a beautiful.
My greatest claim to fame.
How about some fame then? Fame on an album.
Well, yes. Well, I mean, Louis is not exactly. If you're looking for fame, Louis is probably not the person you go to.
No.
These days, he makes most of his money working for the Guardian these days as a soccer columnist.
Oh yeah, football journalist. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, well, this is the sort of, the face of music today. It's such a different face to what it was, Chris, isn't it?
Oh God, yes.
You'd go to the record store, you'd wait for the release, and there it would be, and you'd thumb through it and get your album, and it was exciting.
Right.
You'd go home on the bus and play it on the hi-fi, your parents' hi-fi or whatever, or on your little
radiogram, a stereogram.
Yeah. And I mean, what? And obviously about our album, and I'm green to it really. I'm just a microbiologist really, but a musical one. But it's sort of a whole new world to me really. I mean, I know a little bit about it, but you guys know, you're just in it and understand it, and it's a different
animal. I mean, the mainstream world is still pretty alien to me, and I have no idea how that works.
No.
If I listen to the top 10, I just think, what the hell is attractive about that?
No,
it's just baffling, and there must be something we're missing it, and I don't think it's just our age.
I don't either.
A lot of people our age are only interested in the stuff of their youth. They like to play all the old stuff from the 70s and 80s, which is fair enough if you like that music.
Sure.
But that's not what interests me. I was always interested in the next thing. I was always interested in hearing what came next.
Yeah.
And I think for people who feel that way, there's not much of an outlet for that kind of approach anymore. Apart from the curveball, of course. We haven't mentioned the name of the radio show yet, have we?
No, the Curved Ball, guys. The Curved Ball. This is the guy who formed the Curved Ball station on Cannock Chase Radio.
It's not strictly a station. It's
a station. I call it a station. What do you call it? A show?
It's a show, yeah.
Yeah, show.
The Curved Ball is a show on Cannock Chase Radio.
And do you go into the studio? You obviously go into the HQ to record the show?
No. No, I'm approximately 120 miles away from the studio.
I thought you were a long way. Yeah, because you're in.
So that would be impractical. Yeah. No, I do it all here and send it down the line, which is great.
Wonderful. Yeah, really good. And I look forward to it every week. We have to listen to the podcast here, obviously, because we're behind
Yeah.
We're behind in the continent, but and I've, you've sort of opened the door to a lot of different things musically for me, and I'm finding it really interesting every week to have a little listen to hear what you've delved into. And I
Mm.
think I asked you before sometime, maybe it was on when we were communicating, how do you find all this wonderful,
Mhm.
interesting music?
I've waited 20 years for someone to ask me that question because if I was listening to this curveball, that's exactly the question I would think. Where on earth does he find all this stuff from? And
Mm,
it's not an easily answered question.
mm,
I get it from numerous sources. Um, I mean, without the internet, I would be completely flummoxed,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
I couldn't go down to our price records and hope that something caught my attention in the racks. And
no
that
chance.
those days are completely past. It's
Yeah,
the internet, and that's about it.
yeah,
And I explained to you one of the avenues I use. I just go through the Bandcamp. Bandcamp is a wonderful thing,
isn't it?
a great boon to mankind.
Yeah,
And it's simply a case of well, you've got to find ways of narrowing things down because there's
yeah,
just literally thousands of every different type of music you can imagine on Bandcamp. So you've got to find some ways of whittling it down.
mm,
Plus, the added problem is that I tend to be drawn to music that doesn't fit into any particular genre.
mhm,
So of course the whole music business is completely founded on genre now.
mm,
You've got to decide whether you're making techno
yeah,
or rap or heavy rock or anything like that, or just pop.
yeah,
And the music that I'm drawn to is to say it's always kind of fights, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
yeah,
And it's not the, some people have chosen to interpret it. A lot of people say, a lot of bands say, oh, we're not one particular style of music. On our album, you'll hear a little bit of pop, a little bit of reggae, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And that's not it. That's not it at all. It's
right,
music that just doesn't fit
yeah,
quite into
yeah,
any particular genre.
yeah, for
So
sure.
that makes it difficult to listen to music on Bandcamp or to find music on Bandcamp.
And obviously you get a whole new load of releases, constantly. So I
Mhm.
mean, you must be plugged into that all the time.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Yes, uh,
Wow.
it's not like again, not like the old days where I'd be swamped with CDs every week.
Yeah,
It's all digital, so it
yeah,
doesn't take up any space.
true. That is a good
Um,
thing. Yeah.
but but yes, keeping an eye out for what's going to be emerging and knowing what's of interest and what's not of interest.
And
Uh,
you get heads up from other people, I guess.
Yes, there is some of that goes on, but the most interesting stuff, as I say, is I find it on Bandcamp, and it's almost always, and this is the kind of thing that makes you sound snobbish. It's almost always the stuff that nobody else has discovered yet. On Bandcamp, you can see how many people have bought an album.
Sure.
And sometimes it's pages and pages of people who bought it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you find one that's there's one or perhaps two people have bought it. Sometimes none at all.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm the first person to have bought an album, and
Interesting.
that nearly always turns out to be the most interesting of the lot I find.
That
And of
must be
course,
really remarkable.
it's the stuff that nobody has reviewed.
Yeah.
You won't find it reviewed on online. You won't find it
No.
in the music press. And the music press is another field that lets us down these days.
Oh,
Because I think they are that most of what they review comes from a few small agencies,
okay.
rather big agencies, in fact,
Mhm.
PR agencies. They charge artists a large amount of money to represent their music, and they bombard the music press with this like, with that just telling them what's available. And they think because it's come from this agency, it will be of interest. And that's why all the music papers, all the magazines, they all tend to review the same releases. That baffled me for years. Why is that?
Yeah.
And even if if it's something like The Cure, for instance, this week, you understand that there's going to be a lot of interest in a new album by The Cure. But very often it's something that's not that well known, but it still gets reviewed, and it's not very good.
Right.
So that's baffled me for a long time.
And are the old mags and music press of old, which I remember, Melody Maker and Musical Express and all that stuff. I
Mm.
mean, are they still in existence, these things, or is it,
Well, the new Musical Express is pure. I think it's entirely online now.
okay,
Melody Maker is long gone, of
long
course.
gone, yeah. Mhm.
Basically, we've got the magazines like Uncut and
Uncut, yeah,
Mojo. And they're the best hope you have of finding something interesting. But even then, it's the same problem. They're supplied by the same agencies,
okay,
and you'll find the same records, given sometimes usually 3 or 4 star reviews,
right.
which means that they're okay, but they're
They're
nothing
okay, yeah.
fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
So,
I mean, obviously, you know a little bit about the album we've made, but in terms of actually getting any sort of promotion or any feedback from any station, or it's like you just get an automatic response.
yeah.
Nobody's interested.
Yeah.
Nobody seems to want to know. How do artists make any sort of living? I just don't know.
Well, that's the big mystery. In fact, most of them don't anymore.
Yeah,
That's the simple truth.
yeah. Sad,
Um,
isn't it? Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's very sad, yeah.
Mm.
I think, as I say the magazines, they feed off these agencies, as I say. They've got enough there to keep them from
Right.
1 month to it. They never have blank pages,
No, okay.
But you won't find. It's funny, you won't find many 1 star or 2 star reviews in it.
Okay.
It's always 3 stars, 4 stars,
Interesting.
and
So
it's
they're not.
always because they come. This is my theory, anyway. I don't know if it's true or not,
Do you
but
think
that's
they
my
do you think they're
theory.
plugged into Bandcamp like you are, or do you think
No,
they just not at all?
no, they're just not. I don't think they are at all. No, there
No.
might be the occasional one because
Yeah.
I mean, Bandcamp has a few big stars on there.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
quite big names turn up on Bandcamps now.
Definitely.
Sufjan Stevens, for instance, I think he was the first to really use Bandcamp.
Yeah, it's good. It's great.
Um, and he's pretty big these days. So
Sure.
yeah, I don't know. It's a mess, the music business at the moment, an
I think
absolute mess.
it's a complicated animal. I mean, I'm
If you've
not
got
bad with complex things, being a microbiologist, but when I go look at
to,
this music situation, I go,
oh no,
oh,
it really is a shambles.
you know,
Um, I sometimes think people, I've told people this before, and I sometimes think, you're exaggerating, but no, it's not. It really is that bad.
yeah,
And I think I mean, it's okay if you speak to a musician who's just trying to make a living out of it, just eke an existence
yeah,
by playing familiar stuff, cover versions, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
That's okay. But
yeah, for sure.
if you find anyone who wants to make music it's interesting, that's pushing the boundaries just a little bit, it's
Yeah.
just doing what they want to do.
So taking, for example, I mean, we know Louis Philippe quite well in terms of his music and so
Mm.
on. I mean, do you think he has just sort of decided, well, being a football journalist is no problem for me, whereas trying to get into the studio, do something, get it on Bandcamp, it's just like, oh, does he just take the easy road, and
Well, as I
make a
say,
living, to make a living,
I think he started to feel that way after the Ocean Tango album because that got very little
I
response,
know, yeah, I heard that,
and
yeah.
so it was a gap of, I can't remember when the Night Train album was, about 10
Ooh.
years, wasn't it, after
Must have been, yeah, because that was about 2
2020?
years ago, I think, wasn't it? Something,
Yeah,
or
and
three.
I think he must have come to the conclusion that he may as well just stick with doing the football and getting paid for it on a
Yeah,
regular basis.
yeah,
And it's something he enjoys anyway.
for sure.
Obviously, he enjoys music more, and he's obviously very, very much better at it.
Right, well,
But
I haven't heard
finding
any.
people who agree is another problem.
Well, I don't think I'll read any Guardian reviews on football particularly because that's just not going to happen really. But I'd listen to his music any day.
Yes, yeah, that's what I am anytime. Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
but,
In
I mean,
newspaper, we don't even. I mean, I don't even look. I look a bit at the internet, but there's enough bad stuff out there, like with what we've had here in Valencia. It's like
yeah.
I don't want to look at it too much. Plug into some good
uh,
music, definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, you
Yes.
can see I've just got CDs behind me here. I do have some albums back in England, but I didn't bring them to Spain with me. They're all in a great big heap. Probably lots, quite a lot scratched, I suppose, but I've still got a lot of CDs in the UK as well. But to me, I just love the physical myself. I like to open something up, to get the lyrics, to have it, to put it on, rather than get a phone or get and press a button and try and think, now where is it again on my I'm just not savvy with that at all. I'm very
Mm.
much old school, and I like something I can get and read and all of the artwork or whatever. I love that.
I was a bit like that as well until we found ourselves in an unpleasant situation when you remember the crash of 2007,
Yeah, oh,
2008.
big time. Yeah,
We got clobbered by that.
yeah,
And basically, long story short, I didn't have any money to spend on CDs anymore.
sure,
So the,
sure.
the, the internet came in very handy at this
Of course.
period of time. And I kind of weaned myself off
Yeah,
CDs. I
yeah.
thought for years
Understand.
I was like you. I like to say, oh, I like to hold something in my hand. And I didn't, the idea of streaming
Yeah.
and playing something off the phone just appalled me.
Yes.
But over the years, uh, I discovered a way I've got it sitting next to me actually. I don't know if you can see that.
Well, it's a
This
great
thing
big black
here,
thing.
that big black thing,
It's a black
that
thing. Yeah.
that allows me to download stuff off the internet, transfer it into that, and play it back as I would play a CD.
Oh, okay. All right. That's
The
good.
sound quality is actually exactly the same.
That's really
I
good.
don't. They seem to have caught on for some reason, but they're fantastic. And I've got, in that black box, I've got at least 7,000 albums.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, incredible. And they're all CD quality. It's not just MP3s.
That's
You
remarkable. Is that
it's
an
fantastic.
expensive piece? What do you call it, Chris? And I don't even know what you'd call that. What is it?
It's
What is
very
it?
tricky. In fact, I can read you off the front of it because I can never remember.
Okay.
Oh God, it's too small.
It's too
But
small.
it's a CD
Rob,
ripper. Well, it rips CDs as well. It's
a
another
rip
thing.
CDs. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Is it legal?
oh, I got it. Yeah, yes, it is.
I'm sure
Yeah,
it is, but
all in one HD music server,
okay.
network streamer, CD storage.
Okay, right.
It's
Well, that
snappy,
really
isn't
makes
it?
it dead clear to me. Thanks for
Yeah, I
that.
can see you might.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a difficult concept to convey. That's probably why they're struggling to sell them. And
Right.
also, the after I bought this thing, the price of it virtually doubled.
Did it?
It
Did
was
it?
horribly expensive. Yeah, these
Well,
are made in. This
it's
is made
interesting.
in Korea.
Right. Well, I mean, I wouldn't know where to start. I mean, I'm complete a tech. What do you call it? I don't know, just tech ignorant, really. But you know, I mean, when you look at vinyl, how vinyl has come back quite a big way,
Yeah,
hasn't it? I mean, do you sort of forecast that sort of growth to continue, or what would your feeling be
I
with
don't know. I don't think anyone would have foreseen the degree of its return that's
yeah,
already happened. I
yeah,
mean, it's kind of come back. It's come back and gone away again. It's slowly coming back again, but it's hard to see any particular medium taking off and uh, you know dominating the field like it used to.
sure.
So
Sure.
I wouldn't predict anything in that respect. I thought mini discs were going to be the future.
Well, yes, they
That
sort
was
of came
wrong.
and went a bit, didn't they?
They
Yeah.
got wiped out.
Wiped out. And I mean, CDs have actually come back a little bit in the last
Yeah, a
18
little
months,
bit.
and I'm pleased about that because we've got a lot of them to sell.
Yeah,
But and so I don't know what the trend is and how do you judge it? And you don't want to be left stranded high and dry as an
I
artist, do
have
you?
no idea. I think all you can do is to cater for all, the different
Yeah,
outlets, as it were.
for sure.
CDs, streaming, cassettes, even.
Yes. The cassette,
People like
there's been talk
cassettes.
of cassettes.
That baffles me.
Yeah, because they were always a little bit tricky, weren't they? Got all that sort of,
Well, yes. I mean, the sound quality was ropey to begin with.
yeah,
You got tape hiss, even though they were supposed to, even though
definitely.
Dolby was supposed to remove it.
Yeah,
But no, I was never a great fan of cassettes. But there, people like them for some reason.
Yeah, then you find you get tape all over the place, and you have to flip and try and rewind it back into the.
Yeah, spooling it with a pencil. Yeah.
But
I
I
know.
will, I will, you know, I mean, I sort of look at stuff on YouTube a little bit or whatever. I mean, I'm not a Bandcamp a little bit, but as soon as an issue comes out, if I can get a CD, I'm a happy boy, you know. Then I get it through and open it up, and there it is, and pop it on, and lovely, you know.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's a toss of a coin as to whether somebody actually releases it as a CD.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Sometimes they come out, they're just there's a lot of the things I play, and obviously you can understand why, because it's a lot cheaper to put out something just as a download.
Sure.
Whereas actually producing CDs in any quantity is very expensive.
Yeah. Well, one of the bands we know pretty well in the indie world, I think they did a certain number of CDs, and then people can't get them anymore. They haven't made any more. They
That's
sold
right.
them.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's another the beauty of Bandcamp. There's an awful lot of CDs that disappeared that they're still there, at least for a download on Bandcamp.
Sure enough. Yeah.
And I mean, I know that there's Apple and what is it called, iTunes, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
And Amazon do downloads as well, don't they? As well.
They do indeed.
But I don't think there's much satisfaction to be gained from that. First of all, you can only get it in MP3 quality.
Yeah.
So that's not great.
It's not the best, is it?
And also, the money you give to them is going straight into some massive corporation.
Some great big monster. Yeah,
exactly.
And the artist gets threatened Satan.
At least on Bandcamp, you're getting at least, was it 50% of what's paid?
Yeah, I think it is.
It's a decent figure anyway.
Yeah, it's a bit more, I think, even.
But, yeah, it's a lot more than you get from, I mean, the likes of iTunes are going to give you pennies, aren't they?
I know.
And Spotify, that's nothing. Almost literally nothing.
And no one wants to pay for anything, Chris, do they? You on Spotify? Because I won't want to pay for anything.
Yeah, I mean, Spotify is handy if you want to actually hear something before you buy it.
Sure.
But unless it's on Bandcamp, of course, in which case you can already hear it.
Of course you
can. I'm starting to sound like I'm selling Bandcamp. I'm not in.
It's a good sign.
Not being cut in on the deal.
I understand. Chris, it's great. We're getting close to our time, actually, because we only had a 20-minute slot, because I didn't want to make you dead nervous, about going longer. But it's so great that you've spent time with me today. I really appreciate it. Great.
No problem.
A voice and a face to your name, and I'll keep listening to the show, and I'll spread it around.
Good.
And we look forward to communicating with you quite a bit, hopefully before too long as well, on other things. And so just like to thank Chris Evans from the Curveball Show. Thank you very much for being on Jamie Brewster's Musical Heroes.
You're very welcome.
And have a great day, the rest of the day, my friend. Thank you.
Yes. Bye.
Bye for now. Bye now. Bye.
Bye.